Hello everybody and welcome back or welcome to Writer's Block. Today we are talking about one of my favorite books, if not my favorite book that I read in 2019. And that is Skyward by Brandon Sanderson. Now, I'm not going to lie to you, I actually went into this book with pretty low expectations, but holy guacamole, this book was fantastic. Before we start, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and comment down below what you thought of the book if you've read it, and if you haven't, are you planning on reading it? I'm almost at 1,000 subscribers, and I am pretty excited, and I'm pretty keen to finally hit that goal. So if you're watching this video and you aren't already subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. The story follows a 16-year-old girl named Spencer. She is a human, and her people have been trapped on a planet for 3 generations. And the whole time they are trapped on this planet, they are continuously bombarded and attacked by an alien race that seems to be hell-bent on wiping them from the universe. In the beginning, the humans' only defense against these aliens was to hide underground where their bombers and fighters could not touch them. In time, however, they learn how to make starfighters so that they can finally take the fight skyward. See what I did there? Because that's the name of the book. And unsurprisingly, being a starfighter pilot quickly becomes the best, most lucrative, and most honorable thing that a person can do, because they are risking their lives in order to save the human race. Our main character, Spencer, her father ran away from an incredibly important and pivotal fight in the humans' history. As he runs away, his own people actually shoot him down to make a point about not deserting your post. And so now Spencer has to grow up and live her life being branded the daughter of a coward. And as you can expect from all this, she has a rather large chip on her shoulder. She grows up living her life with everyone whispering about her around her, or if they're not whispering, they are being outright cruel to her because of her father's indiscretions. This has made Spencer weird and incredibly intense, and I am all for it. I am incredibly Team Spencer, especially the growth that she goes through in this book as a character. Let's start off with my expectations going into this book. Like I said, they were low, but why exactly was that? I'd known the name Brandon Sanderson for quite some time because he did Mistborn and Stormlight Archives and The Wheel of Time, but I'd never read any of his books. But a lot of people I knew ranted and raved about how great this author was. And that's what made me hesitant, because generally when a lot of people like one thing in particular, it generally can't live up to the hype that's generated about it. And I'd been meaning to read Mistborn for quite a long time because Mistborn is right up my alley. It is exactly the kind of thing that I looked for in a book. So I don't actually know why I haven't read that yet, and I will probably put that on my TBR list this year. But anyway, I actually randomly came across the book Skyward at a bookstore one day, and I recognized the name Brandon Sanderson, and I thought, you know what, I've heard so much about this author, let me finally give him a try. And holy crap, am I so glad that I picked up this book, because not only is it the best book that I read in 2019, it has skyrocketed up the list and is in my top 5 books that I've read in all time. And this author has, in my opinion, skyrocketed right up to one of my most recommended authors. But enough of me gushing, let's continue with this review. I want to start with the characters, because in my opinion, the characters are what really makes and breaks this book. We'll start with Spencer, call sign Spin. Character motivations are so important for the believability of characters and the engagement of the audience. As the author, you want the reader to be able to connect to your main character. You want them to feel the crushing lows and feel the lofty heights. You want them to feel their pain, and you want them to revel in their glory when they're standing on a field of piled bodies of their enemies, drinking the blood from a scudding Krell's skull. That's a Skyward reference for any of you that's already read the book and is now watching this review. Spencer's character motivation is both engaging and entertaining as hell. She wants nothing more than to redeem her father's name and to prove that she is not a coward. But at the beginning of the book, the way she thinks that she should do this is through the glory of war. I really like how intense she is. She is weirdly and wildly over the top, but at no point does it ever feel forced. Like, a character with that kind of personality can really feel forced in a lot of other stories, but here it's done in a really natural kind of way. It feels like a young woman that's been exiled and trodden on and forced to recede into her own imagination and the stories of heroes that her grandmother has told her. And the chip on her shoulder felt so real, with everything from losing her father and dealing with the loss of her father and everyone hating her for it, to fighting to earn her spot as a pilot. It all felt so real and it all felt so believable. I even liked the brief, fleeting thoughts of romance that she had. It really felt like an awkward teenage girl that had never been put in that position before because of the stigma around her. The thing that really impressed me the most about her character, and in my opinion one of the best parts of the entire book, was how she grew throughout the story. How her mindset changed around friends, enemies, the glory of war, but most importantly, what it means to be a coward. The growth that she experienced through these themes was just perfect. I'm only going to touch on the other characters briefly, otherwise this video will be just way too long, but just know that all the other characters were fantastic in this book. Captain Cobb, call sign Mongrel. I was a massive fan of the written character that is Mongrel. I won't go too far into the things he does or what he represents because I don't want to enter spoilers with this review, but what I will say is he gave off such a real military training instructor kind of vibe. Like, to the point where I was thinking to myself while I was reading it, did Brandon Sanderson serve in the military? Did he base this guy off one of his instructors? Because it seemed so real and like he'd actually known this person and actually been through these experiences. And to explain a bit more about what I mean, there is this idea that people have about military instructors that they're all angry and they're all yelling at all times. But the fact is, if you don't screw up, they're generally pretty decent people, after the first couple of weeks, of course. The things they say are blunt and dry, but there isn't any venom in what they're saying. Because the fact is, they're there to teach you. They want you to learn. That is their job, to get the best from you. But in saying all that, when you do screw up, they will tear into you. And that's exactly what Cobb felt like. The uncanny likeness to people I'd known in the army really made me connect to this character. I enjoyed every dry remark that he made, and every time someone tried to steer his training away from what he wanted, he always had a really good response for that cadet. Like when one cadet said, "Do we really need to land the starfighters every single time? Can't we just turn off the simulator and go and walk to the cafeteria? It's dinner time and I'm hungry." And Cobb's response was, "You can turn off your simulator and go and walk to the cafeteria, but then keep on walking to the elevators and go home, because I don't want people that are going to cut corners in my classroom." But you can kind of see the point I'm getting at here. He was dry and witty, and he didn't take any crap. I can't really say much else about Cobb because a lot of what surrounds him is spoilers, but I was a big fan of Cobb. And if I ever had the opportunity to meet Brandon Sanderson, I would want to ask him where he got the inspiration for this character. Is it based on someone he knew, or did he actually serve? Admiral Ironsides. Now, Admiral Ironsides is another one of those characters I can't really say much about because everything that she does or says is spoilers. But the fact is, she was a good antagonist, and she was a good three-dimensional character. And I did really enjoy the air of toxic hierarchy that she did give off. And you also get a brief glimpse of the world from her perspective, which really helps to reinforce the fact that she is a three-dimensional character. You get to see the world from her eyes, and you get to see why she does the things that she does, and it really helps to cement her as a three-dimensional antagonist. And I really wish I could say more about her, but as she is directly the antagonist, everything she does is a spoiler. Flight Class Skyward. All the rest of the kids. The cadet class was done great. All the kids had good backstories, their own motivations, and their own descriptions. Really, I don't think there is a character in this entire book that isn't well fleshed out and isn't engaging. Like I said, I wish I could go into each character individually and really do a deep dive, but that would make this video way too long. Now, let's talk about the action in this book. Usually, I don't like talking about the action sequences in a book because I feel as if action has a lot more to do with how you're imagining it than anything else. The action in this book, however, was awesome. The dogfighting felt real when they were doing their turns and twists and crazy flight maneuvers, when they were feeling the pressure of life and death, when they were feeling the pressure draining the blood from their body as they were maxing out their grav caps, doing their crazy turns and stuff. It all felt really action-packed, it all felt really intense, and it all really felt so much more real when the cadets started dying. And the stakes were taken from here all the way up to here. If you're looking for a book that has good action, this is the book for you. The plot of this book is what I would say is the weakest part. Not because the plot is particularly bad, but when every other point of the book is so much more elevated, something has to sit in the least elevated position. And unfortunately, that's the plot. But when you look at this book for what it is more of a coming-of-age, character-driven story, so the plot really doesn't matter that much in that regard. The plot itself is pretty straightforward. You got a girl whose father was disgraced, she's been treated like crap her whole life, and the only way that she feels that she can get any form of redemption is by becoming a pilot. Along the way, she runs into a few road bumps because of who her father was and what he did, and then some other stuff happens. I can't tell you that because it's spoilers. But when I say it out loud, the plot really isn't that interesting, is it? But that doesn't matter, because it's the themes that are explored in the plot that make it so great. And they're themes like, what about if you'd dreamt something and really wanted something your entire life, and then you finally get there, and it's nothing like you imagined it to be? What if this thing that you'd set your sights on and romanticized and devoted your entire life to was in fact a lie, or a disappointment, or a corrupt starfighting fleet with poor leadership? It explores things like the glory of war. It explores things like glorifying war and how people that have been to war know there is no glory in it, and what it means to be a coward. The themes in this book are fantastic. Now let's go into the world building. Now, I'm a man that usually doesn't enjoy a lot of world building because I feel as if in a lot of books, world building comes at the detriment of pace. The world building in this book, however, is great, considering it is a YA book focused on a girl's internal struggle. The world building explores the catacombs and the tunnels underneath the surface. It explores the outer base and the military establishment there, the little cave that Spencer hides in, the sky itself with the debris belt and the stars above. I loved it all. The world building was presented in a way that was interesting and didn't slow the plot at all. And while we're talking about world building, I wanted to address the real military vibe that this book gives off. This book addresses themes like how being in tough situations can really bring people together, regardless of race, religion, gender, or whatever grudges or prejudices that people might have. There is something about being thrown into the shit with a bunch of people that you don't know that really brings people together like nothing else in the world. And it is so very well captured in this book. And it's a theme that anyone that served in the military would immediately recognize. And I really praise the book for how well they captured that feeling. So who would I recommend this book to? I would recommend this book to anybody that will listen to me. But more specifically, anybody that is new to sci-fi and wants a easy, gentle stepping stone into further sci-fi, because the fact is it's not an intense sci-fi story, so it is a good stepping stone for people that aren't super into sci-fi. I would also recommend this book to anybody that loves character-driven stories. You can't go wrong with this one. That is basically its highest point, is its characters. Anyways guys, that's all I got for you today. Make sure you like this video, comment down below if you've read this book, what you think about it, if you are planning on reading this book, and subscribe to the channel. Like I said, I'm getting close to 1,000 subscribers, so now is the time. Help a brother out. And as always, thank you very much.